Hello, DevOps friends, welcome. I'm Jochen, the Monospace Mentor. Welcome to my channel. This is all about DevOpsy stuff, system administration, software engineering, and so on. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's Thursday. I did not do a stream on Tuesday because it was my birthday, and I chose to instead relax and get some sleep. And yeah, so I'm back. Hey Indrag, how you doing? I'm back with a triple stream today. For the first time we are streaming to Twitch, to YouTube, and to my Owncast instance. No, I'm not stuttering, it's actually Owncast, and you can find it at live.monospacementor.com. If you prefer not to use one of the big streaming platforms, there's an alternative that's more privacy respecting. And yeah, we're trying this out and let's see how well it will be received. Indrek says, hope your birthday was good. Yes, it was. I really enjoyed it. I had a good time. My family spent the morning, the breakfast with me, and I got nice presents, and yeah, the whole day was pretty chill and pleasant. I really enjoyed myself. And so what I did not finish this week so far was writing a blog article about my Podman setup that I did in recent streams, where I actually set up my URL shortener, my own URL shortener based on the Cut application, K-U-T-T, and I am in the process of writing an article about how I did that using Podman and its Kube Play feature and its systemd integration via Quadlet, and so that's what we're going to do today. I'd like to finish that article so I can post it on my blog, and people can actually get some benefit from my explorations. And of course, in the meantime, we can chat about all kinds of stuff. Let's make this interactive. I never enjoy these streams when there are a 2-hour monologue on my side. I'd rather have a conversation and answer questions and all these things. So if there's anything that you'd like to share, or if you have any question that you'd like to ask me, feel free to do so. I would really appreciate it. Okay, so let me get set up here. I will actually use Neovim to write my article because, yeah, it's more fun like that, even though it is stored in Obsidian. And is there anything else? Yes, there is. There are a few things that I can show off. I just got a delivery earlier today. It's still wrapped. As you can see, this is a nice little switch, a Unify Flex 2.5 gig PoE switch that has I think a 2.5 gig uplink and an SFT Plus uplink, and that is going to be the network heart of PubMox, which is going to be the public Proxmox instance. Wow, that's surprisingly hard to pronounce. It's a public Proxmox instance that will be available to members of the server room. The server room, of course, being my membership community of practice, where we do all kinds of stuff, community events. We have a forum full of friendly people, and PubMox will be another feature that will be available at the gold membership level, where you have access to a full Proxmox cluster, a 3-node Proxmox cluster, where you can do your own experiments. Well, of course, we will also spin up virtual machines for my courses, things like that. And so if you'd like to get some practice in, maybe in preparation of getting a new job or leveling up at your current job, that will definitely be a great resource because, yeah, it's available to you. You can spin up your own Kubernetes cluster, experiment with other things, and it's available for free for all gold members of the server room. I haven't procured the servers yet, but that's also in progress, and I'm very much looking forward to this. And of course, setting up this Proxmox cluster will also be a workshop offered to members of the server room. So you can set this up with me. We will learn together. I will share my experience using Proxmox, and so the learning platform itself will be another learning opportunity too. But before I get to that, let's first get the Podman article out. Let me see where it is. Here we are. Yeah, let's switch screen so I can see what I'm doing. And I think I'm going to go into Zen mode for writing here, and let me see where we are. So I already wrote about why I use a URL shortener, why I run my own URL shortener. This is all important stuff. Let's make sure, yeah, okay. Run your own URL shortener with cut. Am I going to capitalize cut? I think I am. Run your own cut. Cut is a great open source URL shortener that you can, shortening service that you can. I guess we'll make this a dash. Nope, that wasn't what I wanted to do. That's fine. Is there? No. Okay. Running cut is very easy because it's container image. We need the Nginx proxy manager, and then quadlets. Interfaces directly with Podman to run container-based services. Defined. Maybe we should bridge things a little bit better. Let me explain how it does that. Actually, that's not really that doesn't really make sense, because I'm starting out explaining Quadlet, but now I go into how Podman uses Kubernetes manifest files. That's a different topic. Let's insert this here. Nope, nope, no, I just have to rewrite this up here. with then there's the question how to phrase this. Is it quadlet, quadlets? How does this even work? Podman quadlet. Is it still named quadlet even? Quadlet files for the root user. So it's quadlet, singular, and quadlet files for its definitions. And a quadlet is basically okay. Now, that means from a system administration as an endpoint, an application that's deployed from a container image ideally can be handled just like any other service. It should be managed by systemd, which will allow you to do common tasks like system control enable cut and system control start cut. And Podman got exactly this systemd integration when they merged in the Quadlet project. To define the system services it has to manage. With Quadlet files, we get a new type of unit file that interfaces directly with Podman to run container-based services. The Quadlet file in turn references another terminology issue. So let's find out how this works. Template files, yeah, that's generic systemd. Container units are named with a .container extension. In turn references a file that defines or in turn references either a container unit I'd like to really be precise with the terminology because it can be really confusing when the same thing gets referenced with different terms. And I'd really like to avoid this confusion. When people read my blog post I want them to be able to, say, switch over to the Podman documentation to read up on specific details and not get confused, because that documentation then uses different terminology for the same thing. So that's why I'm not paraphrasing or finding my own ways of naming things, but I'd like to really pick up where other people left off. And that's definitely something that I can recommend with all kinds of documentation. If there is existing terminology, make sure to use that instead of inventing your own terms. So we have different service definitions here. .container, .volume, .network, .build, .pod, and .cube. And so we'll use that. Source files also support drop-ins. Yeah, okay. The .container is the source file. Okay, so the Kotlin files in turn references a service unit file that can, among other things, set up a single container or a pod which is a group of containers. Since both cut and Nginx proxy manager use multiple containers, we will deploy both applications with their own pod. This is the first time I'm mentioning pod, so I'll have to explain it in detail later, but I think so far it does make sense. Let's do insert an each here. In summary, we will need a Kubernetes. No, not mentioning Kubernetes here. That was what I found confusing when I just read it. In summary, we will need a pod definition for each service and a quadlet file, a pod unit definition for each service, and a quadlet file to get it managed, or to have it managed by systemd. Since we want to run both cut and Nginx proxy manager, let's say deploy both cut and we will need 4 files in total. That's enough as an introduction here. Let's let this simmer in the mind of the reader and get into the technical details. A cut in a pod. For the deployment of cut, I found a well-built compose file. I copied this. I copy this definition to a file called compose.yaml in a project directory called cut. Let's not use called twice, named compose, and I call cut. Podman's compose subcommand supports compose files by invoking either Docker compose if it's installed or Podman compose. We'll use the latter because it supports Podman pods. And now there comes the Kubernetes pod definition out of the blue. And so we will have to rewrite that. If you have no idea what... Okay. I think we are not ready yet to get into the Kubernetes pod definition. This paragraph seems to go into depth on the Podman pods thing. As its name implies, Podman can group these single service containers of an application in a so-called pod, just like its bigger cousin Kubernetes. That's a good way to introduce Kubernetes here. All these service containers can talk to each other via localhost, which simplifies many things and complicates others, as we'll see later. Let's make sure we'll be using Podman compose for deployment. Where do I put the paragraph that I just cut? That's all good. Here we say, however, Quadlet doesn't work with compose files. It needs Kubernetes manifests. Let's paste this here. If you haven't, don't worry. Podman can generate.
It's a Unix system. I know this.
Bossgans, welcome to the stream. Thank you for the follow. I think this paragraph doesn't help really, so let's get rid of that. I can rewrite that at any time. Let's go back up here. We have the compose YAML. Maybe add a little bit more explanation. T-Tramp, hello.
It's a Unix system. I know this.
Thanks for the follow. If you just joined, I'm working on a blog post about the exploration I did with Podman in a few of my recent streams, where I set up my own URL shortener. And I tried out Podman and its Quadlet integration into systemd. And now I'm writing an article explaining all the details, both how to set it up yourself and how it all works. So that's why I'm trying to make this really easy to understand. I think I'll add a small sentence about compose here. Compose. It's really a difficult line to trot in terms of how much I want to go into details, how far I'd like to take it explaining things to people, how much previous knowledge I want to require from this article. So that's definitely something with which I'm still struggling, and it's a good thing I'm struggling because, I mean, Monospace Mentor is all about teaching DevOps stuff and finding my balance, how much I want to build on existing knowledge and how much I want to explain myself is definitely something that's going to be important for all my teaching. And so even though it seems like I'm struggling, it may seem like I'm struggling too much with stuff here, making lots of decisions that might not even be worth the time. I think they are worth the time because I would like to find myself my own balance in terms of how noob-friendly I want to make things. So bear with me while I'm trying to find this balance. Compose files are a neat way to define a set of containers that together form an application. In this case, I think it's a good idea to explain that we will have two services in this compose file. The cut application and the Redis database it uses for caching, I think, because for data persistence it does use SQLite. So in this case, we have the cut web application. We have containers for the cut web application and for the Redis database cut uses for caching. Let's make this assumption here. Here is the full compose file. It's in YAML format and defines two services. Server, the cut web application, and Redis. I copied this definition to a file named compose YAML in a project array called cut. Podman's compose subcommand supports compose files by invoking either docker compose if it's installed or docker. We'll use the latter because it supports Podman pods. I might actually have to go into how to install Podman as well. I guess...
It's a Unix system. I know this.
Minoru! Ohayou gozaimashite. How you doing? Welcome to the stack. Let's see. It's really important to get a through line here. Cut, running cut. Where do I introduce Podman actually? I'm using Podman to run it on a Gmail. Choose Podman because, okay. So I think this needs to go to a later point. Let's first get COD running. Where's that sentence? Yeah, here. While this is a success, that goes here. Well, this is a success. We don't want to have to issue a command manually every time we restart our host machine. We need the help of Quadlet. What Quadlet does is turn a podman pod into a systemd service unit. So this makes more sense down here. Yeah, let's focus on getting compose stuff done first. Document podmans compose, yeah, and before we get into that, we need to install Podman. Hey, Hyde! Happy to oblige. I do value privacy myself, so and I did have an old Owncast server lying around already, so it wasn't too much of an effort to set it up again. I just popped in over on my Owncast instance, which you can find on live.monospacementor.com. So I'm using Podman, getting Podman, no, setting up Podman. Let's avoid passive voice as much as possible. Setting up Podman. By now, most current Linux distributions Hyde says, I thought it was Friday, or is this some other session? Yes, it is some other session. It's not Friday yet, even though I often get confused with the dates as well. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, I usually do a live coding live stream where I do actual work, to be blunt. I don't have any pet projects or stream projects. The stuff that I'm doing on my live streams on Tuesdays and Thursdays is taken right off my to-do list. And on Fridays, I do my office hour stream where I answer questions. But this is where I'm doing actual work, and you can lean back and simply watch and lurk. Or, as I highly prefer, pop into chat and have a conversation with me. On Fridays, it's me who can lean back and wait for your questions to come in and trying and answering them. But usually I try to keep my evenings free of work to either spend with recovery for myself or to spend some time with my family. And so my live streams usually all start at 2 p.m. UTC. Or to be more precise, depending on the season, 2 p.m. Irish time, which happens to be 2 p.m. UTC at the moment. Okay, by now most current Linux distributions provide Podman out of the box. You can simply install it using your respective package manager. Of course, I'm not going to explain how to install Podman on Debian-based distributions and RPM-based distributions, stuff like that. I guess that's what I'm going to leave for the reader to work out. Okay, that means we can now go to Podman. And here we get to the command that is supposed to start everything. And I guess it's a good idea to try and see if this works. Let's go to our test directory. Here we have our compose YAML, which is the original YAML file I got of DBTech's website. The only modification I made was to quote the true value here, because Podman has a strange issue where it capitalizes Boolean values, and that then confuses Podman. No, that confuses cut actually, because it gets it doesn't get a Boolean value, true or false in lowercase. It gets a string starting with a uppercase T, and that confuses cut and makes it not start. So that's that. So with the command I have here, podman compose -- inpod true up -d should actually launch cut and its Redis container. Let's find out if that actually works. So let's do that. Podman compose, and here we already have the command, and that's exactly why I referenced the environment variable that I'm setting in my tutorial, because since I have Docker Compose installed, Podman actually prefers using Docker Compose to execute compose files, but Docker Compose, of course, doesn't understand the in-pod argument here, which starts the set of containers in a Podman pod. So what we have to do is exactly what I have described here. I think we'll move that closer to where we launch the pod. So we need export Podman compose and stuff. Can I copy this to my system clipboard from Neovim? Let's see if that works. Yep, seems to have worked. Wonderful. So let's force Podman to use Podman compose, which means this should now work. We have a container cut server 1 already in use, so we have to either do that or use -- replace, which we will do. But that didn't work. Okay. So let's get rid of those containers. Podman RM 019897 and BFF17C. As it is running our post containers. Wait. You don't have anything. So I guess we need to Podman stop first. That doesn't make sense. Yeah, but that seemed to have done the trick. Okay. Now let's try another Podman compose. Yeah, this worked. And with Podman compose PS, we should see the 2 containers running. That does work. And with curl localhost 3000, we should actually get response from the cut container. Okay. That is correct. Let's give a little bit more examples here. So if I do a Podman pod ls, I should be able to see that pod. Inside of this pod, Podman launched the 2 service containers, cut Redis and cut server 1. Let's add an example for this too, so people can actually see if things were set up correctly. So in this case, we'll do a Podman compose PS. Podman compose PS. And I'll leave the warning off. From my browser as well, from both my browser and the command line, and let's give a command line example here as well. Curl http localhost 3000, and we'll just copy this output here. Okay, is this the right time to start introducing Quadlet? I think it is, because the Nginx Proxy Manager setup will basically just be a repetition of what we've done so far. So it's a good idea to introduce this now. While this was a success, or this is, well, let's say this was a success, we don't want to have to issue a command manually every time we restart our host machine. We need the help of Quadlet. I guess we'll have to... I can actually just get rid of that and merge the next paragraph in here. From a system administration standpoint, an application that's deployed from a container image, it really should be handled just like any other service. It should be managed by system D, which will allow you to do common tasks like system control. Let's do start cut first, and system to start the service, comma, and system to enable cut to get it started automatically at boot up time. At boot time. Portman got exactly this system D integration, this integration with system D, I'd say. When they merged, merged in the Quadlet project. Let's say when they added the Quadlet feature. Systemd uses so-called unit files to define the system services it has to manage. With Quadlet, we get a new type of unit file that interfaces directly with Portman to run container-based services. A Quadlet file in turn references a service unit file that can, among other things, set up a single container or a pod, which is a group of containers. We already mentioned pods, but it doesn't hurt to repeat stuff. Since both cut and Nginx Proxy Manager each use multiple containers, we will deploy both applications with their own pod, within their own pod. In summary, we will need a pod unit definition for each service and a Quadlet file to have it managed by systemd. Maybe it's a good idea to get Nginx Proxy Manager set up first, because then we can focus on the systemd integration. And finally, we'll deal with the secret thing. Yeah. Let's use the same heading as we did before, which was a cut in a pod. Well, okay, setting up pod and a cut in a pod. Adding Nginx Proxy Manager. For deploying Nginx proxy manager, I followed the same approach as previously with cut. I took the compose file website. I think it's a nice touch to link that. Oh, that's not the one that I wanted to reference. Nginx proxy manager. That's yeah. Okay. Let's link the compose file actually. So we will do SA2W. Wait, what isn't it? SA2. No. Oh, wait. Is it 2B then? 2E. Huh, okay, yeah. SA2E. Boom. And here we go. And spun it up as its own pod. And just to drive things home, we'll do podman. I guess I'll just copy the command from above. Copied it to its own subdirectory and spun it up within a new pod. And since Nginx Proxy Manager exposes port 80 and 443, interesting. This is going to be interesting because I'm not sure if a normal user can even start up this compose file. Let's make sure we are not going to give confusing information here. So we'll do mkdir cut. We call it app. We'll move compose YAML into app, and then we'll use Nginx PM. We'll copy this into its own file. Okay. We'll also, if we want to simply copy the volume definition here, we'll need to create the subdirectories as well. So this section in the tutorial will need to be extended a little bit more than I anticipated. So we have to create the data and let's encrypt directories, and I do not think we can simply do department compose import true of -d. Let's remove the -d so we can actually see it working in the terminal. This is probably going to fail. My own user account should not be able to bind port 80 or 443. Yep. So we'll have to use sudo in this case. Can we do this? Partner compose provider user bin partner compose. Apparently we can. Now we are missing the container volumes, the host directories we need for that. Yeah, see, that's why writing these kinds of tutorials isn't trivial. I did all that stuff that I did before. When I explored all this, I did everything as root, and that, of course, did not cause any problems. How do I want to play this? Yeah, that's all important stuff. Hyde says, I would have loved to have that kind of documentation in previous jobs. That's exactly why I'm putting so much effort into writing this documentation. This again, I'm always wary how you as the audience might perceive my approach here. So let me explain what is going through my head at the moment. Of course, I could simply brute force this by using sudo, creating these directories and things like that. But then again, at a later point in the future, I want to be able to take the same approach for other examples. Maybe I'll add another self-hosted service, and I would like to reference this article in a future one. And so I really need to think about how I want to guide the reader to do these things. Will we start by simply entering the root account and doing everything as root from there? Do I want to have people use sudo only when necessary? All these things need to have some kind of structure and strategy behind them. And that's why I have these pauses when I have to think about, well, what would be the ideal way to go about this, and what kind of practices do I want to teach here? Hyde says, and one of the things I dislike is misleading, obsolete documentation. Yeah, that's probably the worst. Obsolete or outdated information. But I'd also like to not just take the next shortcut and tell people, well, just do sudo here, brute force it, because I might be teaching people something that's quite opposite best practices. And so what would be the best way to do this? I guess we could try and run everything rootless. I mean, that's one of the advantages of Podman. Would be the safest way to do things. It's a little bit more involved, but not too much, I guess. And if I want to teach people to do self-hosting, we could try and run everything rootless, except for the fact that we can't do the port 80 and 443 bindings without setting either at least the capability or get root access altogether. And I guess for most other services, we'll also use the root account. I mean, if we just install something like MySQL out of the box or something, it'll be spawned using the root account too. It might then drop privileges, but at first it'll be started from the root account. So I guess we'll actually do stuff as root here. Hide us sudoers with a specific group and specific commands. If possible, I'd like to avoid making changes to sudoers that will not be required at a later point, because once this has all been set up, especially with Quadlet, there doesn't need to be any sudoers privileges anymore. So that's why I'm not going that route. So can we just do this as root? Let's do it from our own. This is easy to get copied, so let's do mkdir cut. And let's do mkdir nginx pm. We'll again copy the compose file from here. And we'll do a podman compose in pod true up. Let's not do a -d at this point. Let's first see if this works. It won't, because we'll have to create the data, and let's encrypt folders first, and then we'll do podman compose in pod true up. And we'll have to export podman compose provider podman compose. Let's try this again. It still tries to do it as /data. Interesting. That didn't happen when I tried it on my own server. Okay. Do we have to modify this? Huh. That's the application itself that tries... Oh, interesting. Yeah, of course. Oh, wait. It tries in the container, it tries to access /data and doesn't get permissions. That's because Podman is trying to spawn this container rootless. So it's not... Oh, okay. I don't... Interesting, yeah. See, I'm still also learning stuff. Nope, that didn't work. How did I start this? So what Podman does is we have use ID 0, which is root, and we are not in the normal user ID range. And for some reason, yeah, and I guess the user add doesn't really work as expected, because then the user that's getting used within the container isn't able to create these directories, because it would have to have root privileges for that, because of course these directories belong to root. I would have to start this container as a privileged container, so it retains its root permissions, which of course would be less than ideal as well. I need more coffee. I did not run into this issue when I set cut up for myself. And I wonder if that was because I accidentally used Docker Compose. Let's see. Running processes as a user/group. By default, the services Nginx will run as root user inside the Docker container. You can change this behavior by setting the following environment variables. Not only will they run the services as this user group, they will change the ownership of the data and Let's Encrypt folders at startup. This may have the side effect of a failed container start due to permission denied trying to open port 80 on some systems. Yep. The only course to fix that is to remove the variables and run as the default root user. But that sounds like the shortcut that I don't want to take. This is really interesting. I wonder why I did not run into these issues before. I think ideally I'll allow my user to bind Nginx proxy manager to these ports simply to get it running as a normal system user, because in the end we still want to convert these pods into Kubernetes manifest files and then have them run by systemd as a specific user. And I wonder if I changed the user counts for these. Let's take a look. That's going to be... So let's take a look at the Nginx PM YAML file. That's the Kubernetes definition. And the main thing here is that we use physical volume claims instead of creating directories, host directories. We'll get to that later. Podman compose. I did use the Docker Compose YAML file. And that was the Nginx one, okay. And I didn't get any... Oh, I ran... Wait, no. I don't even have Docker Compose installed, right? Yeah. And now I'm confused. Now I'm really confused. But hey, I wanted to explore Podman in detail, and I guess I get what I wanted. The Chosen One asks, can you recommend a tutorial book to get started with Kube? You mean Kubernetes? Yes, I can I follow the docs, but I like reading technical books. So for getting started with Kubernetes, there are quite a few books available. Let me check. What do I have in my own library here? Yeah. Brandon Burns' Kubernetes Up and Running is definitely something that I can recommend. And then maybe the Kubernetes workshop on top. But Kubernetes Up and Running is definitely a good idea. And that's an O'Reilly one. Obsidian is not free for work. Interesting. Let me check that out quickly. Obsidian.md. Where's the blog? Forum merge developers. Where's the blog? Why don't they have a blog link up there? Is now free for work starting today, which is actually today. The Obsidian commercial license is optional. Anyone can use Obsidian for work for free. If Obsidian benefits your organization, you can still purchase commercial licenses to support development. Oh, that's interesting. I mean, I already have a commercial license, of course. And that's a recurring subscription, isn't it? But still, yeah, I think we'll keep that subscription simply to support development of Obsidian. It's not that expensive. While make this change simplicity, the commercial license terms are confusing and add unnecessary complexity to our pricing. Furthermore, as the Obsidian manifesto states, we believe that everyone should have the tools to think clearly and organize ideas effectively. This change brings us closer to that principle. Oh, that's a nice touch. Cool, cool, cool. So, while nothing changes for me here, I'll be even more happy to recommend Obsidian, regardless if people use it for personal or work topics. Okay, now let's go back and fix this Podman issue. I mean, my goal is to get Nginx Proxy Manager running, so I can use Podman generate to create a Kubernetes manifest file. And the shortest way to get there is to allow my user to open the HTTP ports. And I think I'm going to do just that, because we will drop the Docker Compose based deployment anyway in favor of the Kubernetes one. where we will use PVCs. So let's take the cleanest and shortest way to get this container running, which is not using root, but allowing my user to bind the HTTP ports, which requires a still requires some root stuff. Podman privileged port capability. That should get me the command that I need, right? That's outdated. And firewall is not... I think, yeah, that's what we're looking for. It's capnet bind service. Let's go back. Oh, man. No rootless podman. Now rootless podman creates and joins the user namespace immediately. Would be very complicated. Would be safer. Why not just do the syscontrol? So if we do this, and we do podman compose again. We need another export podman compose provider, I guess. Why do we? Because we're not in the original shell anymore. Yeah. Okay, here we go. So with this, yeah, that looks good. And that means I can actually access Nginx Proxy Manager. Interesting. Unrecognized name. Anyway. It's not set up completely yet. Okay, makes sense. So podman compose PS means that... Oops. It still tries to run Docker compose. Oh. Podman compose down. Yeah, wrong shell again. Podman compose PS. Yeah, we're running Nginx proxy manager. Podman pod ls. We should be running 2 pods. Yep. But Nginx only has this single service. Yeah, it only has the app. There's no database or anything. Interesting. Yeah, okay. Whew. Okay. Now, let's stop this here. And here, I launch the service in the background. It's already in use. Podman compose down. Okay, Podman pod ls. We have 2 pods with 1 single container running in here, and we'll however, I first had to take care of 2 requirements. The Nginx PM container needs 2 storage volumes, needs 2 subdirectories, directories for its storage volumes, and it needs to be able to bind to the host's ports 80 and 443, which requires privileges a normal user doesn't usually have. Which also raises the question, doesn't the Podman service also use volumes? Oh, but they use internal volumes here. Interesting. So they don't bind to the host. Which also means that this compose file... Nope. As long as I don't delete the volumes, it'll be fine. Okay. The subdirectories are easy to create. We'll simply do mkdir data let's encrypt. For the port allocation, we need root privileges for a second. Now we can deploy Nginx Proxy Manager. Let's test the web access. Curl HTTP localhost, and what happened when you did that? I mean, you should still be able to do this. Not via HTTPS though. I'll just grab this. I just changed my tmux bindings back to the default ones, and so that's something that I need to make myself familiar again, because I want to be able... I had specific key bindings that were, I guess, more convenient, that I've been using for years now. But I realized, well, sometimes I want to use tmux on a freshly installed server where there isn't any of my dot files, and I don't want to install any, and so it makes much more sense to rely on the default key bindings, even though they might not be as easy to memorize as they could be. But on the other hand, most of them do make sense. So for example, it's a prefix left square bracket to get into copy mode, and then it's a prefix right square bracket to paste what you've copied. So that is actually not too bad in terms of memorization. And as proven by me just remembering it. Okay, that's Nginx Proxy Manager running. But before, let's say, another success. How did we end the section? Okay. Another success, but let's not yet start setting up our two services. So let's move the yet here. Let's not start setting up yet. But we're not going to set up our two services just yet. Let's first hand over their management to systemd. While the deployment with Podman Compose worked, we don't want to have to issue manual commands every time, or manually issue commands every time we restart our host machine. Explanation. Quadlet file. We get new types of unit files that interface directly with Podman to run container-based services. Or even infrastructure, container-based infrastructure. A Quadlet file each Quadlet file references a service unit file that can, among other things, set up a single container or a pod, which is a group of containers. Since we're cutting it use multiple containers, we will deploy both applications within their own pod. Let's keep these two paragraphs together. In summary, we will need a pod unit definition for each service and a Quadlet file to have a management persistently. Since we want to deploy both cut and Nginx proxy manager, we need 4 files in total. However, Quadlet doesn't work with compose files. Instead, it needs Kubernetes manifests. A different YAML format made or used by the Kubernetes resource orchestration software Kubernetes. Okay, so since Podman Compose created our pods based on the base directory containing the compose files. The pod names are easy to identify. I guess we could simply do a Podman pod ls here. Let's generate the cut manifest first. So we did a Podman pod ls and got this output here. Let's do this. Let's fake 18 minutes ago. And I guess we should put them right where they belong, which is going to be etc container systemd /cut and etc containers systemd. Nope, that did not work. Right. Let's see. Containers system D engine XPM. Okay. Question is, once we've done that, do we have to do something else? Oh, I just noticed that we can't write to etc containers directly. So let's do our usual thing where we do sudo t Okay, let's see how this works. I'm not going to do... Yes, I'm going to do that. Yeah, we'll have to clean up later, but yeah, okay. So let's do podman coop generate pod cut sudo t etc containers systemd cut.yaml. Okay. That looks good. The only thing that we need to change is this persistent volume claim here. Okay. Does Quadlet already create the necessary unit? Systemd unit? System control cut status cut? No, it's not yet available. Oh, let's do a system control daemon reload. Still not there. Okay. I guess I'll go ahead and copy this file. the manifest files generated by Podman will work, but I found some of the naming less than ideal, so I cleaned it up a little. This is how I here's my code.yaml. And what we're going to do is change the pod name from pod cut, where it simply stripped off the underscore, to cut. Hello, how you doing? And here we have the Redis server, and the name here should of course be cut Redis PVC, which means down here we'll change this to cut Redis PVC, and the claim is simply cut Redis. And then we have the cut underscore SQLite PVC, with which I think is a little bit of a bug with Podman, because Kubernetes will not use underscores here. It will not accept underscores, actually, I think. So let's simply use dashes everywhere. So we have the cut SQLite PVC and the cut custom PVC, and it's the claims will also be named cut SQLite and cut dash custom. Which means we need to fix this up here where we reference them as well. And that should do the trick. And we'll do the same for pod engine XPM. For the Nginx proxy manager pod, I also replaced the directory-based volumes with physical volume claims. Which means we'll call this pod engine XPM, not pod engine XPM, and then we can call this container engine XPM2. And the data volume will then be mounted to Nginx PM data PVC and Nginx PM. Let's encrypt PVC, and then we'll have to define that, and of course that's also going to be Nginx data that's going to be just name and then persistent volume claim. And let's copy this from above here. So we'll have the Nginx PM data PVC with the Nginx PM data claim, and the same thing for let's encrypt. And with that, cleaned up the naming and also replaced the directory-based volumes with physical volume claims. So we have pod, Nginx PM, da-di-da-di-da, and then we'll have the simple volume mounts here with PVCs. Yep.
It's a Unix system.
That looks good.
I know this.
The Cosarina. Thanks for the follow. Okay. Now, before we spin up at this point, we can clean up the deployments. Okay, get rid of, yeah, we can get rid of the deployments we did to get here. The Cosarian said, hey, I gotta go now. Hope I'll enjoy your content later. Good luck. Thank you. Thanks for stopping by. And talk soon. At this point, we can get rid of the deployments we did to get here. Simply execute podman compose down for both cut and Nginx proxy manager, and remove the volume directories as well. Okay, now I guess let's try this out. We actually need to make the edits that I did in my documentation locally as well. So let's do sudo vim /etc containers systemd cut. We can get rid of the front matter. I wanted to name this simply cut. We'll have Redis. Let's make sure that's been fixed up here too. Yeah, it doesn't need to be named cut Redis. Redis volume mount data goes to cut Redis data PVC. And we'll call this server. Container port 3000. Body cut goes to cut dash SQLite PVC, and cut custom goes to cut dash custom PVC, and that is the cut Redis PVC, or did we name this differently? Cut Redis data PVC. Data PVC, and of course the claim name is going to be cut Redis data. And then we have cut SQLite PVC, that goes to cut SQLite, and we'll do cut custom PVC to cut custom, which means we can go in here and do Podman compose down. Oh, wrong directory. Nope. Wait, where are we? App. Okay, Podman compose PS. Nothing running. Okay. Podman PS. But there is the cut Redis 1 and cut server 1. Interesting. Let's clean those up. I did something wrong here. Podman stop. Cut Redis 1. And cut up 1. Oh no, cut server 1. Okay. And that's also the Nginx proxy manager. Podman compose PS. That one is here. Okay, compose down. All right. Okay. If we do Podman, let's do it right with sudo Podman play Let's see, containers, systemd, put YAML. Now we've spun up the containers using a Kubernetes manifest. It had the same effect. Podman PS, well, we'll have to use sudo now. Podman PS does show we have our Redis server running called cut Redis. We'll have the cut server running. And we have a Podman pause container running, which is an infrastructure container that Podman automatically spawns when you use Kubernetes manifest files. And our pod PS should, or pod list, well, pod PS does work too, shows that we now have a cut pod running. We'll also have to Podman pod rm pod nginx pm. It's not there anymore. Can it stop? Why does it get listed though? Pod ls. Pod rm pod nginx pm. Maybe that's, yeah, okay. Maybe that was one of our failed attempts earlier. So we have the cut pod running here. And after modifying the nginx manifest, we should also get the nginx proxy manager running, right? Hyde says, you did wrong with that green theme, Monokai fan here. I'm actually a Dracula fan, but of course my stream design has a specific theme, and that's why I chose the traditional green. Let's see, we need to edit the manifest as well, nginx pm. So I guess I should add the dashes to my files here just to be sure. Down here as well. Now let's make the same fixes here. Of course, the pod does not need to have the pod prefix. Neither does the container be overly complicated. Container port, host port, volume mounts data goes to nginx pm data pvc. Let's encrypt goes to nginx pm. Let's encrypt pvc, and then we'll simply copy our volumes here. We'll have the nginx data pvc, and let's encrypt pvc. And that way everything is clean and everything gets properly managed by Podman. And that means by running sudo podman kube play nginx pm, we get a single pod and a single container. And when we do HTTP localhost, we should get congratulations. So it took a little bit a roundabout way to get here. We used the compose files that the projects provided because that's the easiest way to get started. And then we used those compose files to spin the applications up initially, generated our Kubernetes manifests from that, and with Podman kube play, we can use these Kubernetes manifest files to spin up the containers again. So we are not using Podman compose anymore. And by the way, we could actually use these Kubernetes manifest files in case we want to scale these applications to actually run them on a Kubernetes cluster if we need so. That's not the goal here. I wanted to keep things simple and lean. And so we'll stick with a single Podman instances here. But as you can see, it's just a single Podman kube play command that spins these things up. And I guess we could now document this here in our tutorial too. So let's do that. To launch the two services using our newly created Kubernetes manifest files, we can use another Podman command, Podman kube play. And we'll simply do that. Sudo Podman kube play. Let's see, containers, systemd cut YAML. And kube play nginx PM YAML. Let's include the output if we can still get it. Yeah, so that's the nginx one. Can we still get the other one as well? Where did we do the kube play cut? Here. Cut should have created a second container though. Yeah, I think I copied the wrong information here. No. Come on. I want you. Yeah, that looks better. As you can tell from the output, Podman created a pod and two containers for cut, and another pod and single container for Nginx proxy manager. Foxbit, hello my friend. I automatically use English pronunciation. Hallo mein Freund. Oh god. So yeah, writing technical documentation takes such effort. And hey, if you want to support me in doing this effort, please consider joining the server room, my membership community. Starting at about the price of a Twitch subscription per month, you can support me and not only support my work, but also get access to a friendly and inclusive community with a growing number of community events, and if you choose the gold level membership, even free access to all my workshops and courses. Yeah, you would help me out greatly. It's definitely a win-win situation. Okay. I think I'm going to take a break here. Or in other words, I'll wrap things up here because, yeah, focusing on writing for such a long time really takes a lot of energy out of me. And I definitely need a break. And the weather is nice outside for a change. We did finally have some sunshine after 2 whole weeks of dreary weather without a single ray of sun reaching the ground. And ray of sunlight, I mean. No worries, Foxbit. You didn't scare me off. You didn't scare me off. I'm not that scared of you anymore. Yeah. So I guess I'll get some fresh air. And we are still not finished with the article. This is going to be an epic post, and I hope future posts will take less time and effort. I need to get used to writing technical stuff. But yeah, it's a new topic, and I guess it's also something that I got myself into, especially because I want to create learning content that's not AI slop. And so I put a lot of effort into finding the right ways to describe things, to find the right level of depth in my explanations and all these things. And in the end, I hope the effort is worth it, not only for you as the readers and the audience, but also for your careers and all these things. And that's definitely the motivation behind this, why I'm putting so much time in here. Hyde said, maybe Dracula could be better for viewing the terminal. I was afraid I would get that feedback because I can see how this is not optimal for reading. And maybe it was nice as a gag, but maybe it's a step too far in terms of aesthetic. I guess we should follow function over form. And so, yeah, I'll actually take your recommendation and revert to using Dracula in my terminal. It was nice for a while, but I'll make it more readable for you. All right, folks. So I guess why not check if there's someone we can raid? there's Hanny, there's Finite. Dylan is doing another interview, it seems. Okay. Let's see. Oh, there's GoPro Slow-Yo. Yeah, let's step over to GoPro Slow-Yo, who's hacking computers and just started out. Okay, that's brilliant. Hyde said we are both old Unix lovers, but still we are in 2025. Yeah, and I agree. And readability is worth something. I mean, I put so much emphasis on proper teaching, and then you can't even start to read the stuff that I have on screen here. That doesn't make any sense. So yeah, as I said, I was expecting this feedback to come in eventually, and now it has. So it was nice as long as it lasted. It's fine. Okay, we'll go and raid GoPro Slow-Yo, and I thank you for dropping by, and hope to see you tomorrow at 2 p.m. UTC for my office hour, where I'm going to answer your questions. Until then, take care.